Okay, so last we did features of quadratic functions, strategies. I accidentally kind of went out of order here, but in the playlist it'll be in the right order. So we're going to look at features of quadratic functions, and when we were talking about strategy, we're talking about which form to use here. So we'll be doing the same thing, but instead of just choosing the form, we'll be solving a little bit. So we'll start off with this function. H of t is equal to t squared plus 4t plus 3, and ask what are the zeros of the function. So we want the zeros, and if we want zeros, then we're going to want the factored form, so we want to factor this. So let's start with h of t is equal to t squared plus 4t plus 3, and I want to factor this. I want two factors of 3 that multiply to be 3 and add to be 4, and those are going to be 1 and 3. You can see that. So that's going to be t plus 1 times t plus 3. This is why I like to hook my t. Okay. So, and close that parentheses. Okay. So then we're going to solve, and if we have t plus 1 is equal to 0, then t is equal to -1, and if we have t plus 3 is equal to 0, then we have t is equal to -3. So we want the smaller t, and that's the more negative. More negative is -3, and larger t is -1. And then it's going to ask us what the vertex of the parabola is. And how do we find that? We find that by taking the average here. -1 plus -3 over 2 is equal to -2. So there's our x value. And now we need to substitute in to find the y value here. So -2 squared is 4 plus 4 times -2 is -8 plus 3. So that's 7 minus 8 is -1. So my vertex of the parabola is -2 and -1. I could have gone out and I could have completed the square on this to get the vertex form. But we know that the x of the vertex is always halfway between the zeros, so we don't really need to do that. Let's take a look at this next one. I have not seen any of these before, so remember that I didn't choose these. So what are the zeros of the function, and what is the vertex? So I guess we're going to do this the whole time. So this is already in vertex form. Okay. So I can say the vertex of the parabola is at 14 and -56.25. But if I want to find the zeros, then I will have to set f of r equal to 0, and that is going to be r minus 14 squared minus 56.25. I'm going to get rid of this part over here. All right, and then we're going to solve this just like we learned to solve by taking the square root. So I'm going to add 56.25 to both sides, and I've got r minus 14 squared equals 56.25, and I'll take the square root of both sides. Okay, and then I'm going to get r minus 14 is equal to 8 point. That can't be right. Let me get out a calculator here. We're allowed to use this calculator over here, but I don't like it that much, so I'm just going to use the calculator on my phone. Square root, whoops. Square root of 56.25 is 7.5. So I've got 7.5, and I've also got r minus 14 is equal to negative 7.5. So we'll add 14 to both sides. We'll get r is equal to 21.5, or r is equal to 6.5. Add 14 to both sides. So my smaller r here is 6.5, and my larger r is 21.5. Okay. Let's get a new piece of paper. Going again. What are the two zeros of this function? Well, we can see the two zeros of this function. They are 2 and 15. Okay. What is the vertex of this parabola? So f of t is equal to negative t minus 2 and t minus 15. And we know that the zeros are t equals 2 and t equals 15. And we want to find the vertex, which is right in the middle of that. So 2 plus 15 over 2 is equal to 8.5. So our x value is 8.5. And then we need to substitute this in so that we can evaluate it. So it's 6.5 and negative 6.5, because it's always like that, right? A negative of both. So it's just 6.5 squared. And I'm going to get out my calculator again. Uh, 42.25. 42.25. Okay, and we've got a negative here, and I'm just going to kind of see if I'm in the right ballpark, because this is kind of a strange number. So it's a little bit more than 6 if we draw this out. It goes from 2 to 15, and it's negative, and this is 8.5. So this is a little bit more than 6, and it should be an x squared function. So it's just a little bit more than 6 here, and 6 squared is 36. This is in the right ballpark, so I feel good about it. 8.5 and 42.25. Okay. We have one more here. Last one. First of all, it wants to know the zeros of the function, and it wants to know the vertex. So we've got to go with factoring. We can either go with factoring or completing the square, but since we have to know both, I'm going to go with factoring first, or we could do the quadratic equation. So that would work too. So find these zeros, right? R squared plus 4r minus 60. So I want two numbers that multiply to be negative 60 and add to be 4. And I can tell right now that's going to be 10 and negative 6. 10 times negative 6 is negative 60. 10 plus negative 6 is 4. So I've got r plus 10 and r minus 6. So my zeros, that's equal to 0. So my zeros are going to be r plus 10 is equal to 0, or r minus 6 is going to be equal to 0. So r is equal to negative 10, or r is equal to 6. Smaller r is negative 10, and the larger r is 6. And now we're going to need to find the vertex. We're going to do that the same way we did before, which is by taking the average here, because it's going to be halfway between So, and that's equal to negative 4 over 2, which is equal to negative 2. Negative 2 to negative 10 is 8, and negative 2 to 6 is also 8. So my x value for this is going to be negative 2, and then we need to find a y value by substituting in here. So it's going to be 8 times negative 8, and again, if these numbers don't, look similar, we've obviously done something wrong, so that's going to be negative 64. So negative 64. Negative 2, negative 64. Okay, so that's how you're going to do features of quadratic functions. A little bit of a slog, a little bit long and difficult. Just try not to make a mistake.